On the lush, vibrant planet of Etheria, Captain Orion Vale had traded in his guns and mercenary title for a life of peace and fatherhood. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the rolling hills, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flora. In this serene landscape, Orion found solace, a stark contrast to his past as the galaxy's most feared mercenary. In their quaint cottage, laughter echoed through the air as Orion played a game of catch with his spirited daughter, Lyra. She was a bright 10-year-old with wild, curly hair and a smile that could light up the darkest corners of the universe. They tossed a glowing orb back and forth, a prized gift from Orion's old friend Tess, who had always had a knack for technology. As they played, the bond between them deepened, filled with shared joy and affection. "Dad, I bet you can't catch this one," Lyra called out, her eyes sparkling with mischief as she launched the orb high into the air. Orion grinned, launching himself after it, demonstrating his still sharp reflexes, his years of training evident in every movement. Just as he snatched the orb from the air, a sudden darkness cast a shadow over their playful scene. A chilling wind swept through the yard, rustling the leaves and raising the hair on the back of Orion's neck. He looked up, and his heart sank. A fleet of sleek, menacing ships blotted out the sun, hovering ominously above their home. The insignia of the Vrex Dominion flashed across their hulls, sending a wave of dread coursing through him. "Lyra, get inside," he shouted, panic seeping into his voice. The orb fell from his hands as he sprinted toward her, but the command was too late. In an instant, the Vrex soldiers descended, landing with military precision. Their imposing figures, clad in dark, gleaming armor, surrounded Orion and Lyra. He felt the air crackle with tension as he faced off against the invaders, his protective instincts kicking in. "You'll have to get through me first," he growled, standing in front of Lyra, ready to defend her at any cost. But it wasn't a fight that ensued, it was chaos. A bright flash erupted from a weapon, and Orion felt a searing pain in his side as he was knocked to the ground. Dazed, he looked up just in time to see a soldier grab Lyra. "No," he screamed, pushing himself up despite the pain, but it was too late. They were gone, whisked away into the shadows of the ships above. Despair clawed at Orion's chest as he fought to regain his bearings. He had escaped the violence of his past for this, only to have it crash down upon him again. He clenched his fists, rage igniting within him. The Vrex Dominion had made a grave mistake. As the ships ascended, leaving him alone and injured in the wreckage of his once peaceful home, Orion's mind raced. He knew the Syndicate's reputation for brutality, and the thought of what they might do to his daughter sent chills down his spine. "I will find you, Lyra," he whispered to the wind, determination surging through him. In that moment, the man who had once been a merciless killer transformed into a resolute father. Orion vowed to reclaim his daughter, to unleash the fury of a warrior who had nothing left to lose. With renewed purpose, he began to plot his next move, ready to dive back into the darkness he had escaped, knowing that this time it was personal. The galaxy had not seen the last of Captain Orion Vale. The stillness that followed the chaos felt like a heavy shroud enveloping Orion. He staggered to his feet, his breath ragged, heart pounding in his chest. The silence of Etheria was shattered only by the distant hum of the departing ships, leaving Orion with the haunting realization that they had taken his daughter. The weight of his failure pressed heavily on his shoulders. He turned to the remnants of his home, debris scattered like shattered dreams, and something inside him snapped. Orion's hands clenched into fists, knuckles white with fury. The galaxy had known him as a mercenary, feared and respected, and now they would remember him for something far more terrifying: the relentless love of a father. As the adrenaline coursed through him, he pulled out his holo-communicator from his pocket. He hadn't used it in years, but now it was his lifeline. With trembling fingers, he activated it, sending a distress signal to his old contacts. As the device blinked to life, a familiar face appeared. A woman with fiery red hair and sharp green eyes. Tess Renfield ***. What's happened, Orion? Tess's voice came through, laced with concern. Orion had fought alongside her many times, and they had developed a bond forged in fire. He had always relied on her cunning and intellect. "They've taken Lyra," he replied, his voice steady despite the storm brewing inside him. "The Vrex Dominion. I need your help." Tessa's expression shifted from concern to determination. "We'll get her back." "Where are you?" "I'm at our old rendezvous point, near the Nebula Crossroads," he said, his mind racing as he thought of the resources he might need. "I'll gather whatever I can from there. On my way. I'll rally the crew," Tess assured him before the connection cut off. With purpose ignited within him, Orion set off toward the rendezvous point. He moved quickly, cutting through the dense foliage of Etheria's forests, fueled by thoughts of Lyra. He remembered her laughter, the way she would curl up next to him at night, eager for stories of his past adventures. He couldn't bear the thought of her in the clutches of those monsters. As he arrived at the clearing, memories flooded back. Familiar faces from his past gathered here, each ready to join him in the fight. One by one, they appeared from the shadows, bringing a sense of camaraderie and unity. Greed ***. A sharpshooter with a penchant for trouble leaned casually against a tree, a cocky grin on his face. Mara ***. The fierce pilot stepped forward with an intense gaze that promised loyalty. "Looks like the old gang is back together," Reed quipped, his demeanor lightening the tension. "What's the plan?" Orion took a deep breath, summoning his commanding presence. "We infiltrate the Vrex stronghold, retrieve Lyra, and take down anyone who stands in our way. We'll show them what happens when they mess with family." The crew nodded, their expressions shifting from lightheartedness to grim resolve. The stakes had never been higher, and they all understood the personal nature of this mission. Tess, a skilled hacker, was already pulling up the Vrex's defenses on her portable console. "They're holding Lyra on a moon near the Dark Nebula. It's heavily fortified, but I can crack their systems." Orion could see the determination in their eyes, and he felt a swell of gratitude for these companions who had once shared in his violent past, but were now committed to fighting for something greater. "Let's do this for Lyra," he urged, his voice low and steady. "We bring her home." As they prepared to board the ship Starfire ***, Orion felt a flicker of hope. The galaxy may have known him as a killer, but today, he would show them the depth of his love and determination. He would not stop until Lyra was safe, and in that moment, he was not just a man. He was a father fueled by a fierce, unbreakable bond. The time for vengeance was now, and the Vrex Dominion would soon learn the true meaning of fear. As the Starfire ***, hummed to life, Orion took a moment to absorb the scene around him. The ship's metallic hull gleamed under the fading sunlight, and its worn exterior told tales of countless battles fought in the depths of space. This ship had been a trusted ally in his past life, and now it was their only hope to rescue Lyra. He stepped aboard, the familiar sense of aged metal and engine oil evoking memories of his former life as a mercenary. But today, he was not just a soldier, he was a father on a mission. Tess took her position at the control panel, fingers dancing over the interface as she plotted their course. "We'll hit the Vrex stronghold under the cover of night. It's heavily guarded, but they won't expect us to approach from the north, where the mountain range shields our approach." Reed leaned against the bulkhead, arms crossed. "You're not the only one who knows how to be sneaky, Tess. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. Let's keep things light. This is a rescue mission, not a funeral." His easygoing demeanor was a welcome distraction from the gravity of their situation. Mara checked her weapons, the weight of her blaster reassuring in her hands. "No games, Reed. We're up against a heavily armed syndicate. We need to be ready for anything. This isn't just about getting Lyra back. It's about surviving." As the ship lifted off, Orion felt a wave of nostalgia wash over him. This ragtag crew, with their sharp wit and unwavering loyalty, had once been his family in the galaxy's chaos. Now they were coming together once more for a common cause. He glanced at each of them, recalling the battles they had fought side by side and the bonds that had formed through blood and sweat. But there was something different this time, an undercurrent of personal stakes that made the mission feel more vital than ever. "Just like old times, huh?" Reed said, breaking the silence as he uncoiled from his lean. "Except this time, we're saving a kid." Orion chuckled, though his heart weighed heavy. "Yeah, and that kid happens to be my daughter." The mood shifted, and Tess, who had been focused on the controls, looked up. "Orion, what if we run into trouble? We need a solid plan beyond just going in guns blazing." "Agreed," Orion said, his mind racing through the possibilities. "We need intel. If we can get into their systems, we can identify their weaknesses. We can't just charge in without knowing how many guards we're up against or where they're keeping Lyra." As they soared through the stars, Orion laid out a strategy. The crew worked together seamlessly, brainstorming ways to distract the guards while Tess hacked into the Vrex's security feeds. Each member brought their strengths to the table, and Orion felt a renewed sense of hope. "Reed, you'll take point with me," Orion instructed. "We'll create a diversion while Tess and Mara get Lyra out. Mara, keep your ship ready for a quick exit." "Don't worry about the flying," she replied, a hint of a smile on her lips. "Just make sure you don't get yourselves killed." "Easy for you to say," Reed quipped. "You're not the one who will be dodging blaster fire." As they neared the Vrex stronghold, tension crackled in the air. Orion felt the gravity of what lay ahead. He was about to confront the ghosts of his past. The Vrex had been a shadowy presence throughout his life, a constant threat that he had fought against. Now they were personal. They had crossed a line that he could never forgive. The ship's alarms blared, snapping him back to reality. "We're approaching the perimeter," Tess announced, her voice laced with urgency. "Prepare for descent," Orion commanded, adrenaline coursing through him. They were entering enemy territory, and the time for action was at hand. The stakes had never been higher, and the galaxy was about to witness the depths of a father's wrath. The Starfire descended through the swirling mists surrounding the Vrex stronghold, cloaked in darkness. Orion felt his heart race, each beat echoing in his ears as he steadied himself for the mission ahead. They were approaching the very heart of the Vrex dominion, and every second counted. "Let's go over the plan one last time," Orion said, his voice low but firm, cutting through the tension inside the ship. "We'll land just outside the North Ridge, where the cliffs provide cover. Tess, once we're on the ground, you'll work your magic on their security systems. We need to find Lyra before they move her again. Reed, you and I will create a distraction to draw the guards away. Mara, you'll keep the engines warm for a quick exit. Any questions?" The crew nodded, determination etched on their faces. Orion could see that they were ready, each of them channeling their skills toward a single goal. With a final look at the faces of his crew, Orion felt a surge of purpose. He had fought many battles in his life, but this was different. This was not just about survival. This was about love and family. As the ship touched down with a soft thud, the team quickly disembarked, the cold air biting at their skin. They moved swiftly and silently, Orion leading the way through the underbrush as they approached the stronghold. The massive structure loomed in the distance, a fortress of steel and intimidation, illuminated by harsh floodlights that pierced the night. Tess dropped to a crouch behind a cluster of rocks, fingers flying across her portable console as she accessed the Vrex surveillance feeds. "I'm in," she whispered, her eyes focused and intent. They'd got multiple guards patrolling the perimeter. "We'll have a small window to slip through, but it'll close fast." "Let's make it count," Orion urged, glancing at Reed, who was peering through a pair of high-tech binoculars. "What do you see?" Reed's voice was steady as he reported. 2 guards by the east entrance, 1 on the west side. They seem pretty relaxed, but we'll need to create some noise to lure them away. Perfect, Orion said, formulating a plan. Reed, you take the east side. Make a commotion. Tess and I will head to the west entrance, while Mara stays close by, ready to act. Remember, we're here for Lyra. Stay sharp. The tension was palpable as they moved into position, shadows blending seamlessly with the night. Orion's heart raced as he watched Reed slip away, a dark phantom disappearing into the depths of the stronghold's shadows. Moments later, a loud crash echoed through the air. A metal trash bin toppled over, followed by Reed's laughter, a perfect distraction. Oops, guess I'm clumsy tonight, he called, his voice echoing back. Orion couldn't help but smirk, but there was no time for hesitation. He gestured for Tess to follow him as they slipped through the west entrance, keeping low and silent. The dimly lit corridor felt like a labyrinth, the air thick with tension. As they crept deeper into the stronghold, they encountered a series of locked doors. Orion's heart raced. Every second brought them closer to discovery. We need to find Lyra quickly, he urged. Tess knelt at a control panel next to a door, her fingers moving rapidly over the buttons. I can override this lock, but it'll take a moment. Make it quick, Orion replied, glancing down the corridor to ensure no guards were approaching. As the sound of chaos echoed from Reed's distraction, he felt the weight of time pressing against them. Finally, the door clicked open, and they slipped inside. The room was dark, filled with the faint hum of machinery. But what struck Orion was the row of cells lining the walls, each one housing individuals with vacant expressions, lost hope written across their faces. His heart sank. He couldn't allow Lyra to share this fate. Where is she? Orion whispered, dread pooling in his stomach. Tess pulled up the schematics on her console, her expression fierce. Hang tight. I'll locate her. The atmosphere shifted as the sounds of footsteps echoed through the hall. Orion tensed, adrenaline pumping through his veins. They had to find Lyra before it was too late. Each second felt like an eternity as he scanned the room, desperation clawing at him. Suddenly, Tess's face lit up. There, she's in a secure holding cell at the far end of the facility. Let's move, Orion commanded, leading the way as they raced toward their goal, determined to bring Lyra home. The shadows whispered around them, but Orion's focus narrowed to one thing: his daughter. They would save her, no matter the cost. Orion led Tess through the dimly lit corridors, each echoing footstep heightening the tension in the air. They navigated the labyrinth of the Vrek stronghold with purpose, determined to reach Lyra before the guards could regroup from Reed's distraction. Orion's mind raced, picturing his daughter in that cold metal cell, and it fueled his determination. As they approached the location Tess had pinpointed, Orion's pulse quickened. The hallway narrowed, the metallic walls seeming to close in on him. He felt the weight of his past, of battles fought and lives taken, rest heavily on his shoulders. But now, it wasn't just his life at stake, it was Lyra's. Almost there, Tess whispered, her eyes darting as she focused on her console, navigating the surveillance feeds. The cell should be just up ahead, but there are 2 guards stationed outside. Orion nodded, steeling himself for what was to come. He had always been outnumbered in battle, but the stakes had never been this personal. We'll have to take them out quietly. I'll distract them, and you move in for the takedown. Got it, Tess replied, her tone filled with resolve. They crept closer, the soft hum of machinery and distant voices barely audible over the thudding of Orion's heart. Peering around the corner, he saw the guards, their silhouettes illuminated by the harsh glow of the overhead lights. They leaned against the wall, exchanging jokes, oblivious to the impending confrontation. On my mark, Orion whispered, adrenaline surging through his veins. He took a deep breath, readying himself for the chaos that would inevitably follow. With a swift motion, he threw a small flash grenade down the hallway, the device clattering across the floor before bursting into a blinding light and deafening noise. "Hey!" one of the guards shouted, momentarily blinded. Orion took his chance, charging forward, tackling the nearest guard to the ground before he could regain his composure. The second guard turned, instinctively reaching for his weapon, but Tess was quicker, sweeping his legs out from under him with a well-placed kick. In moments, the two guards lay unconscious on the ground, and Orion felt a surge of relief wash over him. "Let's move," he urged, darting toward the cell door. Tess was already at the panel, her fingers flying over the controls as she hacked into the lock. Just a sec. There. With a satisfying beep, the door slid open, revealing a dark cell within. "Lyra," Orion called, his voice thick with emotion as he stepped inside. His heart pounded as he scanned the dimly lit room, the flickering lights casting shadows across the space. And then he saw her, a small figure curled up on the cold metal floor, tears glistening in her eyes. "Dad." Lyra's voice was barely above a whisper, filled with disbelief. Orion rushed to her, kneeling beside her and pulling her into a fierce embrace. "I'm here, sweetheart. I'm here," he murmured, holding her close, feeling the warmth of her body against his. She was alive, safe, at least for now. "Is it really you? I thought I would never see you again," she said, her voice shaking as she hugged him tightly. "Not a chance. I'm not leaving you behind," he replied, his voice steady despite the chaos swirling outside. He pulled back slightly to look into her eyes. "We need to get you out of here." Tess glanced at the door, her expression tense. "We need to hurry. They'll notice the guards are missing soon." Orion nodded, helping Lyra to her feet. "Are you okay? Did they hurt you?" he asked, scanning her for any injuries. "I'm fine, just scared," she replied, her voice trembling. Orion's heart ached at the thought of what she had endured. "I won't let anything happen to you again," he promised, feeling the weight of his determination solidify into something unbreakable. They moved toward the door, Orion leading the way. As they stepped outside, the hallway was still empty, but they had to move quickly. "Back the way we came," Tess urged, her eyes darting as she scanned for any signs of danger. Orion nodded, his protective instincts kicking in. They retraced their steps, adrenaline pumping as they made their way back toward the exit. But as they rounded a corner, the echoing sound of boots approaching sent a jolt of fear through Orion. "Move," he shouted, pushing Lyra and Tess ahead of him as he prepared to face whatever was coming. The Vrex guards were regrouping, and the time for stealth was running out. Orion braced himself, ready to confront the storm, ready to protect his daughter at any cost. The odds may have been against them, but the bond between a father and his child would fuel their fight through the dark. The corridor echoed with the sound of marching boots, and Orion's heart raced as he pushed Lyra and Tess ahead of him. They had to reach the Starfire before the Vrex guards could close in. The faint hum of alarms began to blare through the halls, signaling that their escape was in jeopardy. "Go, go, go," Orion urged, urgency tightening his voice. Tess took the lead, her console still flickering with data. "I've got the map up, but we're going to have to cut through the main atrium. That's where they'll be the heaviest," she warned, glancing back at Orion. Orion nodded, the tension coiling in his chest. They were running out of time. "Then we'll have to create another diversion," he said, determination flooding his veins. As they reached a junction, Orion halted, scanning the layout on Tess's console. "If we head left, we can reach the main hangar. That's where the ship is docked." "Right," Tess replied. "But it's going to be crawling with guards." Lyra squeezed Orion's hand, her eyes wide with fear. "What if they catch us?" "Then we fight," Orion said firmly, the resolve in his voice steadying both Lyra and Tess. "We fight for our freedom." They pushed forward, Orion feeling the adrenaline surge as they neared the atrium. The air grew tense, each step feeling heavier as they approached the heart of the Vrex stronghold. Orion glanced at Lyra, her expression a mix of fear and courage, and he felt an overwhelming need to protect her at all costs. Suddenly, they burst into the atrium, a vast open space illuminated by harsh lights. The sight that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Vrex soldiers swarmed around, preparing for battle, their armored figures moving with precision and authority. "Now," Orion shouted, grabbing a discarded crate and hurling it across the room. The loud crash drew the guards' attention, and chaos erupted. "This way," he yelled, directing Lyra and Tess toward the far exit. As they sprinted across the atrium, blaster fire erupted around them, lighting up the space with streaks of blue and red. Orion felt the heat of the shots whizzing past him, narrowly missing their mark. "Keep moving," he shouted, adrenaline propelling him forward. Tess pulled up her console again, frantically scanning for a safe exit. "There's an emergency access door to the right. We can use it as a shortcut." "On it," Orion replied, ducking behind a pillar to return fire at the advancing guards. His pulse quickened as he focused on their movements, picking his targets with precision. With a surge of adrenaline, he leaped out from behind cover, firing his weapon and taking down 2 guards in quick succession. Each shot felt like a declaration of his resolve. He was not just fighting for his daughter, but for everyone who had been imprisoned by the Vrex. "Dad, watch out," Lyra shouted, pointing toward a guard aiming directly at him. Orion turned just in time to see the blast streaking toward him. He instinctively shoved Lyra behind him, taking the hit on his shoulder. The force knocked him back, but he fought through the pain, pushing himself back to his feet. "Keep going," he roared, gritting his teeth against the pain. Tess pulled Lyra along, her eyes wide with fear, but unwavering. "We can't leave him," she protested. "Just get to the door," Orion shouted, his voice fierce. "I'll catch up." "Orion," Tess pleaded, but he shook his head, determination hardening his resolve. He darted back into the fray, his instincts kicking in as he engaged in close combat with the nearest guards. Fists flew, blasters fired, and he moved with a fluidity that came from years of training. Every punch landed was a reminder of why he fought, the love for his daughter driving him forward. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of chaos, he fought his way toward the emergency access door, the adrenaline dulling the pain in his shoulder. He could see Tess and Lyra waiting, anxious yet determined. "Go," he shouted as he reached them, slamming the door shut behind him just as blaster fire hit the metal surface. They sprinted through the dark corridor beyond, Orion's heart racing as he led them deeper into the unknown. "Almost there," Tess urged, her voice steady as they navigated the maze of passages. Orion could hear the distant sounds of pursuit behind them, but he refused to look back. They were getting out, together. Nothing could stop him now. The narrow corridor seemed to stretch on endlessly as Orion urged Tess and Lyra forward, the pounding of their footsteps echoing against the metallic walls. Behind them, the Vrex guards shouted and raced in pursuit, their voices growing louder, more threatening. The adrenaline coursed through Orion, sharp and invigorating. It was a lifeline in the face of impending danger. "Which way?" Orion demanded, glancing back at Tess, who was frantically scrolling through her console. "Just a little further. The hangar should be." She paused, her eyes widening. "This way. We can cut through this maintenance shaft." Orion led the way into the cramped space, the low ceiling forcing them to duck. The air was thick and stale, but it offered the promise of escape. They crawled through the dark, Orion's heart racing as he listened for the sounds of pursuit. "Dad, are you okay?" Lyra asked, her voice small yet filled with concern. "I'm fine, sweetheart," he reassured her, even as he felt the sting from the blaster wound on his shoulder. "We'll be out of here soon. Just stay close," Tess said, her tone urgent as they navigated the twists and turns of the shaft. "We're almost there." They emerged into another corridor, this one lined with flickering lights that cast eerie shadows on the walls. Orion peered around the corner, his instincts on high alert. The hangar door loomed ahead, but guards patrolled the area, their expressions cold and menacing. "Looks like they're expecting us," Tess murmured, her brow furrowed as she scanned the scene. "We'll need to create a distraction again." Orion nodded, formulating a plan in his mind. "Tess, can you loop their security feeds?" "On it," she replied, already working at her console. "Just give me a moment." "Lyra, stay behind me," Orion instructed, positioning himself as a shield between her and the guards. His heart ached at the thought of her being in danger again. With a final click, Tess exclaimed, "Done. They'll see a false feed. Now, let's move." Orion took a deep breath, adrenaline surging through him. "Go," he commanded, darting toward the hangar door. They sprinted into the hangar, but as soon as they crossed the threshold, alarms blared, red lights flashing ominously. Orion felt a surge of dread, realizing that their ruse had only bought them a moment. "Now," he shouted, diving behind a row of crates just as blaster fire erupted around them. Tess quickly took cover beside him, while Lyra crouched low, her wide eyes reflecting fear. "We can't stay here," Tess yelled over the chaos, scanning for a way out. "We need to reach the Starfire ***. Orion nodded, the urgency of the situation spurring him into action. "Follow my lead," he shouted, bursting from behind cover to return fire at the nearest guards. His pulse raced as he aimed, each shot a testament to his determination to protect his daughter. Tess covered him, expertly firing at the guards to provide a path toward their ship. "This way," she shouted, leading the charge as they made a break for the Starfire ***. Lyra kept close to Orion, her small frame pressed against him as they dodged and weaved through the onslaught of blaster fire. "We're going to be okay, right?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Absolutely," Orion promised, though the words felt hollow as they raced toward the ship, the weight of danger pressing in from all sides. As they reached the Starfire ***, Tess activated the ramp, the familiar sound of the ship's mechanisms giving him a fleeting sense of hope. "Get inside," she urged, her eyes flickering between the ship and the approaching guards. Orion pushed Lyra ahead, making sure she was safely inside before he turned back to cover Tess. "I'll hold them off," he shouted, determination flooding his veins. "No, we need to go together," she insisted, her voice rising above the din of chaos. "Just go," Orion commanded, knowing he had to give them a fighting chance. He couldn't let the Vrex take them. He fired off several shots, taking down another guard before turning back to Tess, who hesitated, torn between staying and leaving. "Now," he yelled again, and finally, Tess dashed up the ramp, disappearing into the ship. With one last glance over his shoulder, Orion sprinted inside, the ramp closing just as blaster fire ricocheted off the hull. He turned to see Lyra and Tess strapped into their seats, both looking back at him with worry. "Take off," Orion shouted to Mara, who was already at the controls. As the ship shuddered and lifted off, Orion felt a surge of relief. But the fight wasn't over yet. The Starfire ***, shook as blaster fire erupted against the hull. He rushed to the cockpit, grabbing a seat beside Mara. "We need to get out of here now," Orion urged, his heart pounding as he glanced at the view screen, where Vrex ships were scrambling to intercept them. Mara's fingers flew over the controls. "Hold on tight." The ship jolted as they hit the afterburners, and Orion felt the familiar thrill of speed. They shot into the depths of space, the chaos of the hangar fading behind them. "Are we safe?" Lyra asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Orion turned to her, a smile breaking through the tension. "For now, but we'll keep running until we're far from here." As the Starfire ***, soared into the stars, Orion felt a wave of relief wash over him. They had escaped, But the fight was far from over. The Wrecks would not give up easily, and they would need a plan if they were to ensure their safety and that of everyone affected by the ruthless syndicate. But for now, they were together, and that was enough. The Starfire streaked through the vastness of space, the comforting hum of its engines a welcome sound amidst the chaos they had just escaped. Orion took a deep breath, allowing himself a moment to savor the relief of having Lyra safely by his side. They were free, but he knew their journey was far from over. "Status report," he commanded, turning to face Mara, who was focused on the control panel. "We're on a stable course for the outer rim, but the Wreck ships are still pursuing us," Mara replied, her brow furrowed with concentration. "We'll need to make a few evasive maneuvers if we want to shake them off." "Do it," Orion urged, the adrenaline still pumping through his veins. He glanced at Tess, who was typing furiously at her console, her expression serious. "Can you hack into their systems, Tess? See if you can delay their pursuit." "I'm on it," she said, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "But it might take a minute. They've reinforced their security since we broke in." "Lyra, stay close," Orion instructed, turning to his daughter. He wanted her to feel safe, but the fear in her eyes reminded him that their ordeal was far from over. "I'm okay, Dad," she said, her voice steadier than he expected. "You saved me. I knew you would." Orion smiled at her, pride swelling in his chest. "And I'll always protect you, no matter what." Suddenly, the ship shook violently as blaster fire erupted against the hull, rattling them all in their seats. Mara gripped the controls, her face set with determination. "They're getting closer. Hold on." Orion's heart raced as he braced himself. "Can you initiate the jump to hyperspace?" "Not yet. We need to gain some distance first. I can't jump while they're right on our tail." "Then we fight," Orion said, his voice steadying. "Tess, what's the status on those Wreck ships?" "They're trying to flank us," she replied, her voice tense. "I can't access their systems completely, but I might be able to disrupt their targeting systems long enough for us to make a break for it." "Do it," Orion commanded, feeling the familiar surge of adrenaline as he prepared for the fight ahead. "Mara, focus on evasive maneuvers. We need to keep them off balance." The Starfire jolted again, and Orion felt the vibrations of the ship as it weaved through space, dodging incoming fire. Tessa's fingers flew over the console, her eyes focused with fierce determination. "Just a few more seconds," she muttered under her breath, sweat beading on her forehead. "Lyra, stay low," Orion instructed, his instincts kicking in as he prepared to man the ship's weapons. "If anything happens, stay behind us." "I will, Dad," she promised, her gaze unwavering. As the tension built in the cabin, Orion took a deep breath, centering himself. He had faced worse odds before, but this was different. His family was at stake. "Now," Tess shouted, her voice filled with urgency. "I've got it. Their systems are disrupted." "Perfect," Orion exclaimed, flipping switches as he activated the ship's weapon systems. He steadied his aim and fired at the nearest Wreck ship, feeling a surge of satisfaction as the blast struck true, sending the enemy ship spiraling away. Mara took the opportunity, her fingers flying over the controls as she executed a sharp turn, sending the Starfire into a sudden dive. "I'm taking this down and around. We'll use the asteroid field as cover." The ship maneuvered skillfully through the jagged rocks, the gravitational pull creating a chaotic dance of fire and debris. The Wreck ships followed, but their larger size made them less agile, and Orion could see their formations breaking apart as they struggled to keep pace. "Hold steady," Orion shouted as they veered around an asteroid, narrowly avoiding a collision. The thrill of danger fueled his determination. "Almost there," Mara said, her voice steady even as the ship rattled around them. The first glimmers of hyperspace appear ahead, the swirling colors of light a beacon of hope. "Prepare for hyperspace," Orion called, his heart pounding with anticipation. Just as they reached the threshold, a blaster bolt struck the Starfire again, this time hitting a vital systems panel. The ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring as they were thrown forward. "No," Orion shouted, gripping the console tightly. "Can we make the jump?" Mara's hands flew over the controls, her expression a mix of focus and desperation. "I need a moment. I have to stabilize the systems." Orion glanced back at Lyra, who was pale but determined. "Hold on, sweetheart. We're almost there." The Starfire shook under the relentless assault, but Orion's resolve only strengthened. "We won't let them take us," he vowed. With a final push, Mara shouted, "Jumping now." The ship leaked into hyperspace, the familiar rush of stars stretching into lines of light around them. Orion exhaled a breath he didn't know he was holding, feeling the weight of relief wash over him. They had escaped. "Are we safe?" Lyra asked, her voice soft but laced with hope. "For now," Orion replied, pulling her close. "But we'll always be ready. We'll make sure they never come after us again." As they hurtled through hyperspace, Orion glanced at Tess and Mara, gratitude filling his heart. Together, they had faced insurmountable odds and emerged victorious. The future was uncertain, but they were together. And for Orion, that was more than enough. They would forge a new path, united against whatever challenges lay ahead.